That's what I want to get on.
Okay, let's get to the URC then. I'm not surprised that you want to talk about it. Right, so let's talk about. Let's start with the Irish. We started with the Welsh last week. Let's start with the Irish this week. How do we think that the Irish provinces got on? And the match that I caught most of was Munster against Benetton over in Treviso, which ended in a 13-all draw.
Yeah, and I think Munster were lucky to get that. I think they'd be absolutely delighted with that result. It's no surprise for any URC fans that Benetton almost won that game. Again, we said it last week. I'll say it again this week. It's brilliant for the league that Benetton are so competitive. It was great to see Malachi Fakatoa playing against his old side. Like some of the players that Benetton have are just incredible. But I think it's for Munster, it's probably a game they'll want to forget. Unfortunately, it looks like Carberry's picked up a bit of a wrist injury. Hopefully that's not too serious. I don't think they're sure yet. So it could be nothing. It might only be a few weeks. Could be a week. So hopefully he comes through because he's been in good form. And we're all, I think, shouting for him. Especially after the end he had to last season. Leinster, they kind of got back to the Leinster, the business as usual. That would have been a 3-game losing streak for Leinster in the URC. So I don't think that was ever going to happen. This game last year against the Sharks was a correct one. I don't think this one lived quite up to it. And obviously they were both missing a lot of players.
It wasn't as comfortable as maybe the scoreline suggests, though, from what I watched of it. I thought the Sharks gave them a real test.
Yeah, and the Sharks have some absolute, like even that Sharks side, I know it's not anything near their first step, but they have some absolute ballers of players. Like they have a great squad, and they really do. I love Werner Koch on the wing. He's one of my favorite wingers. He's just the most competitive, long-haired man playing the game at present.
Every time he gets tackled, it looks like he's had a head contact just because his hair goes whoosh forwards, and you think, "Oh no!" It's like, and I think I remember a referee in a game said to him once, like, "Whatever you do, I always see you because of the hair."
And I think he's one of those players as well who will make a tackle or make a really big hit. And he gets straight back up and he's there competing for the ball without fail every time, or just caught, being a nuisance in a ruck. I just love watching him play. But Leinster back to winning ways. Just touching on the South African teams today, it's been a pretty poor start for them. I know it's only been 2 rounds, but of course the massive caveat there is the Stormers, who've been in flying form. But hopefully. We'll see an improvement. I think we know we will once they get some of their players back. But back to the Irish sides, Ulster, they got the job done. Another win, but they picked up a good few injuries. It was their first game on their new synthetic pitch. Obviously, there's been a lot of controversy around that. So they are playing a more exciting brand of rugby. They are embracing the style of rugby that you can play on those fast tracks. But they did pick up some injuries, and they have a massive game. I think one of the games of the weekend, this coming weekend, is definitely going to be Connacht, who I'm just going to touch on now. So Connacht are playing at home to Ulster, and I think it's a late enough kickoff on the weekend. I think it'll be 7:35 or 7:45 on Saturday. But Connacht again had a brilliant win. I think it was the game of the weekend for me. I don't know if you caught much of it. We find the score of 34-26. Yeah, and Glasgow actually outscored Connacht try-wise. They were 4-3, so Connacht didn't actually get that bonus point. But there have been a few, rumors of, Connacht, they're building. I think they've started the season really well. I mentioned JJ Hanrahan last week. He played really well again this week. He might have picked up a knee injury, but they don't take it serious, which is brilliant. But also, if you think back to when Connacht won the Pro 12, that season, it was immediately after World Cup. And they had such a strong start because so many teams were missing their World Cup contingent. So, you never know. It's given me those kind of flashbacks. It's been a really good start. Like Andy Friend has left and he's moved on. So they're under a new coaching ticket, and they seem to be doing really well. And I just have to shout out on some players. Joe Joyce again was absolutely superb in the centre, in the second row. He's been a brilliant find for them. Cathal Ford again, young player in early 20s, absolutely smashing it. He had the most carries in round 2 at 32. Tom Farrell again in the centre alongside him was absolutely brilliant. And I think they're just building really well. And again, their set piece has been really strong. And on some really good news on the Connacht front as well, Bundy Aki and Finlay Bealham have both signed 2-year extensions to stay with Connacht. Aki is on a centre Connacht contract, and Bealham will be sticking to a Connacht contract. But great to see those World Cup players stick to Connacht and commit their future.
There's speculation about maybe Bundy might hang up his boots after the World Cup as well. So that's a nice. It's nice that we're going to get to see a bit more of him. Yeah,
absolutely. I think so. He's going to have to fight his way into the team. I know he won't, obviously, but look, in all seriousness, look, Cathal Ford and Tom Farrell are playing absolutely superb rugby. So yeah, it's really exciting. I'm really excited for Connacht this season. I really think they could do a job against Ulster this weekend. So really looking forward to that. Now, I don't want to go on too much about the Irish provinces. Did you catch many of the other games? I saw Edinburgh had a very close game. The Lions are very good away from home. They were the same last season. They just never go away, do they?
No, they never. I caught a little bit of this. It seemed quite tense. It seemed quite tight. It seems to be a decent crowd up in Edinburgh, and they seem to be really made to fight for this win. The Lions have a bit of a reputation as well. Obviously, they're the least competitive of the South African sides, but that still means that they're firmly mid-table. So yeah, I didn't manage to catch too much of the game, but Edinburgh really had to be good value for their win. And as you say, Lions just never go away.
Yeah. So that was great to see. And overall, like, what are your thoughts on the league so far? I know it's only been 2 rounds, but have you been impressed? Have they picked up from last season? The league as a whole?
Does that mean I need to talk about the Welsh regions?
But the league as a whole now. Yeah, look, it's going to be, but we all knew it was going to be a tough one for them. But yeah, give us your roundup for the weekend.
Ospreys Zebre was a good game. Ospreys Zebre was well worth a watch. There was a bit of reaction on Twitter after the game of like, Ospreys can barely scrape a win against Zebre these days. And Zebre were really good. It was such a watchable game, and Zebre really took it to the Ospreys. Scored a couple of really nice tries. They got some really tidy players, and mostly a young squad, as we know. That's the model that Zebre like to pursue. But some really great tries. The first 2 tries for the Ospreys, you had Justin Tipperick, who was absolutely everywhere. Like he was man of the match by a long way. Gets the ball in his own 22, like burns the winger down the touchline, and then it's a few offloads inside outside, and then it's a nice score. And then Matt Prothero, who's a player that I've said some things about in the past, fair play to him individually, takes up the ball from a loose kick and just straight through the middle of Zebre. So where was I? Yeah, so Zebre game, Osprey's second try. Matt Prothero scored a great individual effort, ran straight through the middle of the Zebre defence. A little bit of finger wagging at the defender as he went across the line, which is copped a bit of flack for. I personally don't get wound up about that as much as other people, but other people don't like it, so I'll keep quiet on that. But yeah, great game, very watchable, great advert for the league. Only slight downside is there was only 3,000 in the stadium to watch it, and obviously Osprey Stadium is the Swansea City Stadium, and that has a capacity of well over 20,000, so it's not a good optics. And the Ospreys are playing their London game this weekend, which people are pretty much resigned to the fact that is going to be quite possibly the Ospreys' biggest gate of the season is going to be the London game. So it's not great vibes in Welsh rugby at the moment, and that's before I've even talked about the other games. So there was a derby between Dragons and Cardiff. Dragons haven't won against Cardiff in something like 17 consecutive games, something crazy like that. It was not a high quality game. It was 1 try from Mason Grady, who latched onto a bit of loose play. Mason Grady athletically is terrifying. He is the tallest and the heaviest centre that I was able to find the stats for at the World Cup. Like, ridiculous. But he still needs to develop as a 13. He's still not quite got all of the defensive capabilities and all of the game reading that a 13 needs, but he got that try. Cam Winnett as well, the Wales under-20s fullback, had a really good performance, picked up man of the match. It was like he had a magnet in his hands, attracting the ball to him. He just was completely unflustered, nothing the Dragons could do, could test him in any way. And Thea Cabango as well, on the wing, the young winger that Cardiff had, looked really good. The scrum, not so much, and that's a bit of a worry because Corey Jomachowski and Kieran Azarasi are likely to be involved for Wales moving forward. And maybe it's more to do with the fact that Cardiff are really struggling for proper out-and-out second rows at the moment, is maybe leading to their scrums not being so strong. But from a Dragons point of view, it's just, like I said last week, it's so Dragonsy. And now their supporters are worried because they've got Munster away next. And with the URC these days, there are no easy games. There are no gimmies in terms of wins anymore. And Dragons supporters are thinking, when are we going to win a game? It's probably when they're going to play the Scarlets. So Scarlets, obviously my team, got battered. 63 points put on us last week, 52 points put on us this week against the Stormers. I did the Scarlets pod yesterday. Link in the description, link in pop-out banner, blah, blah, blah. We were absolutely awful. Scarlets have started the season absolutely shockingly badly. Now, the mitigation that I'm willing to give them is it's basically a brand new team with reasonably new coaches. So our average age has dropped in our starting 15 from 28 to 25. And that's with some like particularly older players like John Fox and Johnny McNichol still being there. And it's just like the turnover of players that we've had. Like, we played the Stormers last November in Cape Town. Beautiful venue, by the way. Of that 15 that took the field in Cape Town last year, only 3 remained the same for this game. That's how much of a squad turnover we've had. 8 of the players who played in the game last season aren't even employed by the Scarlets anymore. That's how much of a churn we've had in our starting 15. Mm-hmm. And that speaks to the cohesion, and it speaks to a reason why we're not doing very well. But we had 13, 14 weeks of pre-season with the coaches ahead of the season kicks off, and we are easily the worst team in the league, and we are probably the worst we've ever been. Now, the coaches that we've got at the moment are the Ulster coaches from a couple of seasons ago. So we've got Dwayne Peel, we've got Jared Payne, and we've got Sean Carney. And they've got a point to prove for me now, because it has been a pretty unacceptable start to the season. And they've got to show that they deserve their money at the moment, because to have that amount of time in camp with the players and to perform that badly, it's not a good look for you. So I hope they turn it around. I hope they make me look silly for saying all those things. Again, I hope my team performs well, but it can't carry on like this. It's only 2 games in, but another couple of results like that. If we don't beat Cardiff this weekend, yeah, it's not going to be pretty.
Well, fingers crossed. It's obviously going to be a building phase for them and for a lot of the Welsh sides, but I guess worryingly as well, I saw Jamie Phillips put out an interesting tweet about attendances as well, and we all knew that the URC attendances for Welsh sides generally isn't the best, and then to see low figures again for the beginning of this season is not a good look. But look, hopefully it's just part of a process. They'll get through it. The money will be back, hopefully. It's going to be a tough few years for the Welsh sides. I think we all know that.
We got the Barbars game as well this weekend, which, for those who haven't been following this saga, the Welsh Rugby Union scheduled a game against the Barbarians for Wales in the Principality Stadium, and it clashes directly with Cardiff versus Scarlets in the URC, which is obviously a derby, and that has not gone down well. And there's a bit of a battle now going on amongst Welsh rugby fans. Some are saying pack the park, go and see Cardiff versus Scarlets and forget that this Wales game is even happening, which is probably sacrilege to some people. But again, I don't think the Wales Barbarians game is going to be even close to a sellout. It might be one of the lowest attendances we've seen for a Wales game by all accounts. So again, it's bad vibes. It's just bad vibes all around. And then the news broke today that Judgment Day, which is like our back-to-back double header that is normally held at the Principality. I think you guys, the Irish, do something similar at the Aviva once or twice a year.
They usually play it on separate days.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then in Super Rugby, they've got the Super Round as well, which I think is something quite similar. Anyway, that is normally held at the Principality Stadium. This season, it's not, because apparently the Principality is being used for another event, which isn't a great look because it's a facility owned by the WRU and it's a rugby stadium, and yet it can't be used for a rugby match because it's being used for something else, which people are assuming is a concert of some kind. Obviously, it's the biggest indoor venue in Wales, and it's mostly used for pop and rock concerts and things. Now, if the WRU were open with it and said, look, this concert is going to make us however much money more than Judgment Day, and we need that money so that we can do this, then people could get on board with it, but they don't. The WRU aren't that open, and they just leave people to make up their own minds.